Hey folks, it's Joe. This episode of The Trap Set is co-presented by our good friends at The Drummer's Journal. For those of you who don't know, The Drummer's Journal is a top-notch quarterly online magazine all about drums and drummers. So if you're a fan of The Trap Set, you'll appreciate the fact that The Drummer's Journal features a really well-curated assortment of mainstream drum legends and unsung heroes. To subscribe for free, check out thedrummersjournal.com. In fact, this episode is embedded in the new issue. And to be clear, this is not a paid promotion. It's just a collaboration of two like-minded publications. Coming up, a great conversation with the legendary Pete Thomas of Elvis Costello and the Attractions, after a brief message from friend of the show and drummer extraordinaire, Jon Wurster.
Why did I bet my landlord I could play the intro to New Lace Sleeves? Now I have to pressure wash the house this Sunday wearing only my underpants. Thankfully, I enjoy being outside wearing only my underpants, but the pressure washing, that's a whole nother ball of wax. Sounds really humiliating, and I have a very complicated relationship with ladders that I really don't want to get into right now. Well, I'd certainly love to know how and where and why Pete Thomas came up with that damn intro. But I may not be able to play that, but I can nail the intro to What's So Funny About Peace, Love, and Understanding. Fine. I hate Elvis Costello and the Attractions.
This is Joe Wong. Welcome to The Trap Set, where each week we explore the lives of drummers. I want to play something for you.
Bad lovers face to face in the morning. Shy apologies and polite regrets.
You're hearing New Lace Sleeves by Elvis Costello and the Attractions, featuring my guest, Pete Thomas on drums. Thomas began his career in the UK pub rock scene with bands like Ocean and Chilly Willy and the Red Hot Peppers. He joined the Attractions in 1977, and his entrancingly bombastic groove and highly creative, hummable beats helped propel the band to critical acclaim and international popularity. Aside from his work with Elvis, Pete's inimitable style and versatility have resulted in an excitingly varied career. He was the house drummer for the British late-night program The Jonathan Ross Show, and he's recorded with dozens of revered artists such as Neil Finn, John Paul Jones, Lucinda Williams, and Elliott Smith. He lives in Los Angeles, where for the past 15 years, he's co-led the country band Jack Shit. And now our conversation with the great Pete Thomas.
If I just want to go and practice and I don't have anything specific that I have to go and practice, I'll probably just put Are You Experienced on, and play along with that and then get my old bad feeling,
It always comes back.
I mean, I must have listened to that record like 1,000 times, so if I play along with it, it brings back all these memories and stuff,
Did you ever have a chance to see Mitch Mitchell perform or Jimmy?
I did, but I had a bit of a good thing because Mitch Mitchell, I discovered, lived about 40 miles away from where I grew up.
Oh, wow.
So I started, instead of going to school, I started hitchhiking to his house and basically standing outside like a weirdo.
How long did this go on?
it was like 2 days.
Okay.
And the second day, his roadie came out, Nunu, who I met again later on and became friends with, later on. He ran a hire
Did he
company.
remember you? The kid that was stalking Mitch Mitchell?
Yeah, sort of, and they were so nice. He came out to the gate and he said, "Do you want to see Mitch's drums?" And of course I was like, "Oh," and he took me in, and he had a studio in the garden. It was like a sort of modern brick building in the garden. And we went in, and all the drums were in like a swimming pool without the water in, like a dugout in the middle of the studio. And there was like the double black Gretsch from Rainbow Bridge, the Ludwig with the 24-inch bass drum, all these kits that I'd seen in pictures and things, like all Mitch Mitchell's kits were set up. And around the wall were all these Marshall stacks with JHX written on.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
So that's where they would rehearse?
Now, at this point, Jimmy had died. He was dead. Before that, I'd seen them at the Isle of Wight, so I did see them play once.
So what compelled you to hitchhike to his house? How old were you at the time?
I just loved his playing.
You just felt like you had to meet him.
Yeah. And it's still that combination of him and Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix was just like a kind of hot blues player from the Chitlin circuit, and Mitch Mitchell was some like dweeby jazz nerd.
Right.
Sort of neither of which were that remarkable, probably, like in their own worlds. But when you put the two of them together in London, that music was just fabulous, like suddenly it was like this music from another world, And I just loved his, he had so many great licks, like intros to songs and grooves, Spanish Castle Magic and all that, like so inventive that, I just really wanted to meet him. And then he invited me into the house and I met him. I sat down in he had a music room, quadraphonic sound, all tapestries, like he had yellow crushed velvet trousers on and a chiffon shirt. And there was some gorgeous bird that made me my first ever vodka and orange with real orange.
How old were you?
About 15.
Okay.
And he sat me down and he played this Elvin Jones. And the only thing I can remember him saying was, if you're a drummer, you're only as good as who you play with.
Right.
Basically aim yourself at the best players and they'll make you sound good, sort of. And there's a good bit of advice.
So how did it feel to go back to school after you'd experienced that, drinking a screwdriver with Mitch Mitchell?
I didn't go back to school that much.
Okay.
I'd worked out some school alternatives.
Like what?
There
job?
were these hippies that had a caravan, like down by the river, near where the school was. A load of us used to go down there and like crush up nose inhalers and all go weird.
What was
Speed.
the...
It was
Speed,
speed.
okay.
And I was pretty good at school up until that last year, up until 15, 16. And then, I saw The Who, I saw Jimi Hendrix, someone gave me some acid, like
It opened up the real world
it
to you.
opened up the whole thing, And, at that point, my parents did get fairly cross with me,
Did you have any siblings?
2 sisters.
So at least if you fucked it all up, at least they had these 2 other kids that they could rely on.
Yeah, they were slightly better behaved.
Only slightly?
Well, or at least they didn't get caught,
Right. So they were a little bit more sophisticated in their adventures.
Yeah, I think so. And then I disappeared, then I left, and went up to London.
The Trap Set will always be available for free, but we rely on donations from our listeners. Please visit our website at thetrapset.net and click donate. Subscribe to our show on iTunes, and if you enjoy what you hear, give us a review.
Did you have a plan? Did you have like an ambitious,
Not really.
like goal-oriented
it was
plan?
just
set
it
for
was
yourself?
just like a, I got the job with Ocean, but they couldn't support me, so I had to get a job in London, and I got a job in the Dallas Arbiter warehouse, which was a music import company.
Mm-hmm.
And to start with, I was just unloading lorries and stacking boxes and things. And then I got the job in the drum spares department. And I was able to get myself a few nice tom holders and things, But I did that for quite a while, and I actually became the manager of the Dallas Arbiter drum spares department. And then I got in Chilly Willy. Then I'd met the bass player, and he called me up, and I got in Chilly Willy, and then that was professional. I mean, it was only £12 a week, but it was a lot of shows.
When do you feel like you came into your own as an artist?
About a year ago. I can't.
I mean, did you feel confident at the time? Were you excited? What was the experience like?
It was, it's good fun, but I've never, it's very rare that you ever feel like settled and
Sure.
happy and confident and
That's good to
this
hear.
is all great,
Yeah.
like for some, like when I think back, it's very few moments when you just think, I was just fine then. Like you're always worried about something.
Yes.
Or like, it's just a human condition, I suppose. I expect everybody's the same. I mean, you look back and you think, well, actually, I was really lucky and everything's been good for a long time. So why do I worry all the time? But
Do you still worry all the time?
yeah,
What do you worry about now?
just well, I mean, it's like we still play with Elvis,
Yes.
but you go 6 months, 8 months without doing any shows, and then you worry. I mean, I do sessions and things, but the money you get paid for sessions is still the same as it was like 15 years ago, and everything else, like your mortgage and your healthcare and all that stuff, is all like 10 times as much. So you just worry about that, just normal stuff.
It's funny because for someone like me, I look at you and I think this is something to aspire towards.
Yeah.
But it's all the same shit.
It's the same, it's exactly the same shit.
So I have to just get used to it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have a good year.
Yes.
You have a good year where, like when we did the spinning wheel thing, that was very popular, and we did it once, and then we went round again.
Do you think as drummers we have less agency in our lives than songwriters might?
What do you mean agency?
Like control over, the events in our lives. Like songwriters can choose to write an album and go out on tour. We're waiting for somebody
yeah.
to tap us to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, no, and also you can't pester people,
Right.
You can't keep ringing them up like, hey, I really need to do some shows, and that, because there's nothing more likely to put people off than if you start pestering them, like you have to kind of be cool.
Yeah, it's hard to figure out where to draw the line between being cool but also being proactive, right? Like you have to also stay in people's consciousness.
But I can't. I'm not that guy. I mean, there are drummers who
There are certainly people that are so good at promoting themselves
There
in
are
a way
drummers,
that's not
and
obnoxious.
I'm sure we both know who they are.
Yeah.
You know, like guys that just appearing everywhere. And you know, I mean, I've done sessions and the phone will ring. I mean, it's happened a couple of times. There was one time when I was doing an album with the Waterboys in Ireland. And, you know, I was sitting around in the lounge or something, and the phone rang, and there was no one else there, so I picked it up, and there's this voice, you know, it's like, "Hey, is Mike around?" You know, Mike Scott is the singer in the Waterboys. It's like, "Hey, is Mike Scott around?" I'm like, well, he might be. Who is this? He's like, "Hey, it's Keltner, Jim Keltner."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Jim, it's Pete Thomas. Go away." it's like, "Jim, no, stop it."
Cockblocked him.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, hi, Pete." Oh, I'm like, yeah, right, yeah.
Can you remember the first time you played with the Attractions, when you played with Elvis for the first time?
Yes.
Did it feel like there was a special chemistry immediately?
Special chemistry of mood enhancement. There's quite a lot.
Which was the agent of the mood enhancement? I mean,
just whatever.
some of that crappy pot, or
there was crappy pot and mostly drinking. Drinking for maximum enjoyment, we used to call it.
What did you drink?
Well, I think all the initial stuff was cider. Because we rehearsed in the West Country. We rehearsed on an old airfield.
Did it feel like you were taking a step forward artistically with this group?
Yeah, it was really exciting. I mean, it was all just happening, you know. So
The songs were coming together quickly.
but all those great songs, you know.
I always liked listening to when they reissued those albums on Rykodisc. They would put some of the original acoustic demos, and then it's always interesting to see how you came in and crafted your parts.
Right.
Is that something that came to you immediately, or did you have to think about it and talk about it as a group? Or was it more instinctual?
Well, we just rehearsed. You know, you go in one day and do it, and you know, we had a few jokes like, "Let's try it reggae." Like, you always knew you'd gone too far and it was wrong when you tried it reggae. But
I mean, there was certainly some reggae influence in that.
there was a bit, but a lot of it really was dictated by his playing. I mean, compared with most other singer-songwriters, he's got a pretty good idea of where he wants it to go, you know. I mean, so many people, they just play some chords and sing some corny lyrics, and, you know, I mean, he's way beyond that. So he would have ideas, and then, you know, you just get inspired. I mean, we were all inspired. Bruce was such a great bass player, and Naive on, you know, coming up with all those crazy keyboard parts. I mean, there's some very clever people.
And there's a lot of frenetic energy to the drumming, especially on the first couple records.
Yes.
Is that the cider talking, or? I mean, it's definitely sounds to me like I can hear the Mitch Mitchell, I can hear the Keith Moon.
Yeah, well, it is that. That's
Yeah.
what it is. That's what it is. Yeah.
This episode of The Trap Set is brought to you in part by Colectivo Coffee. Handmade coffee since 1993. Check them out online at colectivo.com.
The band became pretty famous internationally after the first record that you recorded with him. What new opportunities did that afford you? How did it change your life?
I don't know, really. We just,
Were you able to move out of a squat?
Yep. I mean, our manager was good, you know. He was like, I'm going to make sure everybody gets a house. That was one of his things, you know.
Was the band set up in such a way that all the members participated in the royalties, or were you salaried?
No, it was salaried. We got a little royalty on the records, which when you sold loads and loads of records was all
Adds up,
right. You know. And salary, but it was enough to get a mortgage and get started with all that, you know, on the property ladder.
Yeah.
And he made sure that we all did. You know, it was quite, you know, he made sure that we got a house, didn't fritter all the money away and stuff.
So you say you were out of your mind in the early days of the Attractions. When do you feel like you were, when you kind of like left that phase of your life?
Well,
what forced you to get it together?
2 heart attacks.
When did you have your first heart attack?
When I was 42.
Holy shit. So you were still on speed at that time? Or
no, not speed, but, you know, just a bit of this and that. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but it definitely caught up with me, you know.
Like coke, or what was...
Yeah, a little bit of that, you know.
Uh-huh.
I mean, everybody was. It wasn't anything unusual. I mean, at that point, that was like in... When would that have been? Like the end of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just what everybody did, you know. There wasn't anywhere that you went where it wasn't going on.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. And you think back on it, you know, you think back on it now, it's like, God, how did anybody maintain, you know, like that? But everybody did. I mean, all the famous drummers,
Of course.
that we know, you know, were all blazing on it.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I had a heart attack.
Do you think it made you play better or think differently in any sort of way?
No,
No?
it made it a lot harder, really. You know,
But more fun?
I don't. I think actually it's just really stupid.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's one of those things. Even drinking's a bit like that. Like, you think it's fun because that's what your heroes did, and you know, it's what the Who do and Led Zeppelin, and
Right.
you know, so you think it's like what you're supposed to do, and then once you start doing it, the only way to maintain the feeling is to keep doing it, because if you stop doing it, you feel wretched, you know. So it's a bit of a vicious circle, really.
So you've played with Elvis on and off for over 30 years now.
Yeah,
And
it's 1977, so it's almost 40.
almost 40, yeah. So in 84, though, the initial run kind of finished up.
Yeah,
What was your next step?
Panic. We, you know,
What happened?
well, it was a combination of things. I think we had reached like a natural sort of conclusion, you know, like we were just sounding like more of the same, you know. It's like we'd do one of his songs, we could play it this way or that way, and so I think it was getting a little bit tired, maybe, you know, and then he met T-Bone Burnett.
Mm-hmm.
So, and T-Bone got him over here, and he played with a load of people here, and it just reached a sort of like a natural thing. But we weren't happy about it, and I panicked. I sold my house, and we just bought a little apartment, and but then me and Steve Naive got a job on the Jonathan Ross show, which was like Letterman in
Right.
England, like as the house band. So we did that for about 4 years. Like
And you played with everybody that came through.
everybody. Paul McCartney, Elton John, Tom Jones, Roy Orbison.
Pretty woman, walking down the street. Pretty woman, the kind of life you meet. Pretty woman.
Was it always pretty positive when you were working with those guys?
It was great. It was great. You know, and Billy Idol. And it was that weird time when everyone was triggering sounds, you know, like I had these triggers on my snare drum. So if you were playing with Billy Idol, you'd be triggering something that went, you know.
Was it fun?
Yeah, it was fun. That was really good fun.
What's your relationship like with the other guys in the band now? Do you talk when you're not on tour?
Oh, yeah.
Your friends?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Does Elvis live out here? Does he live in New York?
At the moment, he's in Vancouver.
Oh, okay.
No, really good friends. I mean, it's such an amazing gift or whatever, you know, like to be able to play with Steve and Elvis. It's like, I mean, Elvis doesn't approve of nostalgia. You know, he doesn't like doing gigs where it's like, hey, the sound of the 70s, you
Right.
know, where it's like us and the Pretenders or something. He doesn't like that idea. But at the same time, when we all play together, it's like time travel. You know, like I can look round at Steve and look at Elvis and we'll be playing, you know, Lipstick Vogue or something. And it's the nearest thing to feeling young again or just that feeling of friendship and, you know.
And it doesn't happen with anybody else. It's these guys.
Well, I've got this other band in LA, Jack Shit, this kind of country band, and that we've been together a long time, and we're good friends too. And it happens with them as well. But the whole, you know, the thing with Elvis and Steve and, you know, because there was a lot of success and there was also a lot of really funny stuff, you know, like when we were all misbehaving.
Like, you have to give me an example.
Well, there's quite a few, like, arrests and things, you know.
How many times have you been arrested?
Twice properly, I think. Twice.
For what?
You know, drinking for maximum enjoyment.
So you were getting arrested for enjoying yourself to the maximum?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Getting arrested for like one time me and Steve went to a restaurant in Minneapolis and overdid it a bit, you know, and we got this enormous bill. So we decided the wisest thing to do was a runner. There was this lift that we noticed this lift. It was on the top floor of a skyscraper, and we noticed this lift that sort of came up and opened quite close to where our table was. And we just got this bill for like $260, which back then was...
This was when? 70s? Early 80s?
Early 80s, probably, yeah. You know...
Wow.
Because we'd ordered some stupid wine and all these Irish coffees and everything. So we decided, like... Clearly, the obvious thing to do was just to get in this lift and go down. But by the time we got to the bottom, like they'd alerted the security people, but we gave them a good run for their money. You know, we didn't.
So that begs the question: how many times did you actually get away when you had the similar idea?
Quite a few, I think.
Okay,
quite a few.
Everybody loves a successful rock star that stiffs them on a bill, right?
Well, I don't think we ever. It wasn't like we always did that. I mean, we were, you know, pretty nice guys, really. But it was just the way this thing just opened and the $260. It's like, well, now we could pay this, or we could, you know,
right.
I mean, it was just.
So then you got locked up for a bit.
Overnight.
Okay.
We did, yeah. Yeah. They chased us. He chased us back to the hotel, and then we ran into the bar and grabbed a bottle of Courvoisier, and then ran up to our room and laughing. You know, we're sharing a room, and we're both in there laughing. And then there's a knock on the door, and it's the manager of the hotel. And we let him in, and it was going all right. Like I gave him the credit card. I said, and then our lighting guy appeared from somewhere, and he was really drunk, and he decided to punch the manager of the hotel. Seemed like, and by this time, all these other people had arrived, like from the restaurant and the bar, and so the corridor was full of like chefs with rolling pins, and there was just all these people, and then the police arrived, and me and Steve were just like, it might be better to just go with the police because we're going to get killed. So we went with the police, and they locked us up.
So what do you want to do next?
Well, I would.
Is there anything that you haven't already done that you would like to try?
I think being in the Rolling Stones.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I love.
Have you ever met those guys?
Yeah. I love the Rolling Stones. I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things. I love Charlie Watts, and he's such.
Did you ask him if you could sit in?
No, of course not. I mean, I wouldn't. Nobody could replicate that the way he plays. It's just that thing of being cool, like not overthinking. It's just like, no, this is the groove. I'm confident that because they'll get ahead of him. You'll notice.
He's way back.
He's way back. You'll notice that it's like, wait, hang on, this is going away. But he just stays there, and they come back. They come back. He's the law, And he's so loud on stage. Like he's coming out of, there's monitors under the stage, there's side fills, and it's all drums. So, he is ruling the roost up there, like just simple playing, but loud. And so,
did you get to speak with him?
Yeah.
Do you get the sense that he enjoys playing in that band, or is it really just a means for him to do what he's doing?
He loves it.
He does?
Of course he does.
There have been interviews where he says, I wish I was a jazz drummer.
I know. But he loves being in the Rolling Stones.
Until you take his gig.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay, so one last question, which is coming to us from our friend John Worster, who's a great drummer with Bob Mould and Superchunk and the Mountain Goats. He wants to know, how did you come up with your pattern for new lace sleeves?
Well, it was a combination of Nick Lowe being imaginative and Devo superstition. Satisfaction.
Yes.
Devo, it was a combination of Nick Lowe's imagination and Devo's satisfaction. It was that chep boom, da da dum, chep boom, da da da. I mean, it wasn't like I stole the part, but it's just the idea.
Similar concept.
The idea of it, yeah.
Well, Pete Thomas, I could sit and talk to you all afternoon, but we should wrap it up. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, then. Thank you very much.
The Trap Set is produced by me, Joe Wong, along with Chris Karwowski, who also edits the program. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Trap Set, and visit our website, thetrapset.net, to subscribe to our show for free. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please donate to our show. If you can't afford to donate, please tell a friend and give us a good rating on iTunes. Send your feedback and guest requests to thetrapset@gmail.com.